Hello, my name is Harmanjot Singh. So now I will talk about Stuart Hall's concept of encoding and decoding. So who was Stuart Hall? This is his picture. Stuart Hall was a Jamaican-born British sociologist, cultural theorist, and political activist. He was born in Kingston in 1932, then came to the UK in 1950s, and was later dubbed the godfather of multiculturalism for his contribution to sociology. He was one of the founding figures of the British Cultural Studies School of Thought, and in 1964 he co-founded the Centre of Contemporary Cultural Studies at the University of Birmingham. The research center played a vital role in developing the fields of cultural studies. Stuart Hall was responsible for the first ever cultural studies course in the UK. So, what is encoding and decoding? So, on the right side, you can see the communication process. So, which I will describe later. So, encoding is the process of turning thoughts into communication. So, the encoder uses a medium to send a message, a phone call, email, text message, or face-to-face meeting, or other communication things or tools. The level of conscious thought that goes into decoding and messages may vary. Encoders should also take into account any noise that might interfere with their message, such as other messages, distractions, or influences. With that, he can merge all the things and make a good, like he can do better encoding. And the decoding is the process of turning communication into thoughts. Decode, for example, like you may realize you are hungry and encode the following message to send to your roommate: I am hungry. Do you want to get pizza tonight? As your roommate receive the message, they decode your communication and turn it back into thoughts to make meaning. And if you see the example of like encoding, when we say like different messages come, like we include like I want to like kind of spicy pizza, so he may be with that encoding, he can decode by the thing like he can bring a pizza with a spicy sauce or something like that. So this is example of uh, the interfere with the message. So there are three components of the mass communication model. Encoding and decoding arises primarily from Hall's reservations about the theories of communication underpinning mass communications research. Encoding decoding opens with an account of the conventional model of communication we found with mass communications research. The components are: meaning is not simply fixed or determined by the sender. The message is never transparent. The audience is not a passive recipient of meaning. And just because a documentary on asylum seekers aims to provide a sympathetic account of their plight, doesn't guarantee its audience will view them sympathetically. For all its realism emphasis on the facts, the documentary form still has to communicate through a sign system, which is called the oral visual science of TV, that both distorts the intentions of producers and evoke contradictory feelings in the audience. Distortion is built into the system here rather than being a failure of the producer or viewer. So here's my next slide. So lack of fit. Uh, So there is a lack of fit, Hall suggests, between the two sides in the communicative exchange between the moment of production of the message, which is encoding, and the moment of its reception, which is decoding. This lack of fit is crucial to Hall's argument. It occurs because communication has no choice but to take place within science systems. And the specific movements of encoding and decoding using media coverage of 9/11. So when the images of two airplanes crashing into the World Trade Center were transmitted to a global audience on 11 September 2001, the meaning of the event seemed abundantly clear to all. North America had become the tragic victim of a terrorist attack. Camera crews were present at the World Trade Center in New York some 15 minutes after the first plane hit the North Tower. The second strike and its aftermath were broadcast live on television, giving the event a certain immediacy. As it unfolded before our eyes, the meaning 9/11 generated did not spontaneously flow from that moment of encoding in isolation. The coverage was also overdetermined by the larger circuit of communication within which it was articulated. For instance, despite its chaotic, unprecedented feel, the production of 9/11 drew upon the pre-existing routines, rules set in place by what Hall calls institutional structures of broadcasting. Um, In addition to these material structures, the encoding of 9/11 was shaped by journalistic discourses on violence, terrorism, and Islam that had been circulating in the West for the last 3 decades. Within this context, it is possible to make sense of Hall's point that encoding is the point of entry into the discursive realm of communication, as well as the moment constructed by the material context of production in which it occurs. For Hall, encoding is the crucial moment. For Hall, encoding is the crucial moment at which the institutional, societal relations of production must pass under the discursive rules of language. So here's an example of BBC News by Stuart Hall, which he gave in his video. So he talked about a professional code ethos. So professional code ethos means like making their viewers more trustworthy, reliable, and credible, so they can trust them whatever they say. So they have to be faithful in that. So the Stuart Hall told that uh, like news channels like BBC, they shouldn't take political sides, and they should be like punctual to the like politics. Like if the government is not doing good, they should say that they are not doing good. If they are no they if they are doing good, then they should say doing good, so the audience can trust them. That's a professional code ethos. So, but if they choose like political sides, that for example, if Justin Trudeau is nowadays like recently Justin Trudeau is against the truckers who are protesting. So if the BBC News say like uh, yeah, it's the truckers are not doing good, but if like in case if they are doing good and the government like Justin Trudeau is against them, but all of the like Canadian people don't like the statement of Mr. Trudeau. So, but the BBC News say that Trudeau is doing good because he's the Prime Minister of Canada. So, but if it's like it's not good, the people will also not like it. So it should be like uh, it will be unprofessional if they take the sides of the government. So here are the references of the presentation. Thank you for this presentation.